Hi, I'm Pat McKenna, head of product and events at Mini USA, and welcome to the third installment of Mini Q&A as part of Meet at Mini, our virtual event series. Great to be with you. I think today is going to be especially fun because what you have seen so far is a static interview like this, right? Nothing moves, right? Today is like a field trip, okay? We're going to go to Munich, Germany, and we're going to meet Renzo Vitale, who works in sound design for Mini. And he's going to take you through a physical walkthrough of the BMW Welt, which is called BMW World, where Mini has a beautiful place there. But let me tell you about Renzo. So Renzo is a really interesting guy. He has a PhD in acoustics. He's an Italian pianist. He's a composer, a sound designer. He's an acoustic engineer, and he's an artist. He's done a TED Talk. He's played on the Las Vegas Strip at the Cosmopolitan. So he is a multifaceted person, and he brings all of that experience to Mini. So he's been with the company since 2015, and since 2017, he's been really focused on electric vehicles. So without further ado, let's go live to Munich, Germany to meet our friend, Renzo Vitale. Renzo, how are you?
There I am. Hi, Patrick. I'm great. Good to
Good,
see you.
good to see you. As I was
Hello,
telling
everyone.
everyone, this is like we call this a field trip because you're physically in a location. Tell us where you are, and then we're going to do a kind of a field trip and go see a Mini Cooper SE electric vehicle to see of all the amazing sounds that you've put in. So tell us where you are,
Absolutely.
give us a little tour.
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. I am in Munich right now in a beautiful space, which is all about Mini in our so-called BMW world. And right here, I can show you there is this beautiful car. It's an Austin Cooper from 1963, one of the first built. And if I just move a little bit around, there is so much about our story of Mini. There are some very cute object and souvenir from back in the past, and there are some story from the past, and we see our Alec Isigonis here in the front cover from some magazine back from the past. We see picture also here from our Mini stories. I'm sure for all of you Mini fans, that could be a really great place to be in. And also we have here some of our vehicles. We see here a Mini Countryman. We have a Mini 3 doors there. And we have our beautiful Mini Electric right here in the middle. And I can also show you here in the backyard in our garage space for where the motors usually are rumbling in the John Cooper Works space. So this is exactly where I am right now.
Perfect. So now we're going to go on a little trip upstairs to spend some time with the Mini Cooper SE. And while you're walking, I want
Yeah.
to start with a, let's say, a provocative question. Can silence be dangerous?
The answer is yes, if we put it in context, which is, I used to say this in the past, and I still talk about this a lot, because if we think about the presence of cars in the cities, in the very moment that they are silent and they are moving, there could be a danger for the pedestrians around. So this is the reason why basically there is the need to compose and to create a sound for the electric vehicles. In that case, sound acts as an information. So basically sound is saying, watch out, there is a car coming. But we took this as an opportunity because it's not just about sending an information or delivering information, it's about also delivering emotions. And we also from the Mini community know very well what does it mean to feel a car around. I love to speak about the voice of the car, and this applies also for Mini. So a big challenge and privilege that I have had was to give a voice to the Mini car, to the first Mini Electric. And this is what I've been working on the past year. And this is something that I can also share with you in a minute.
Perfect. And what I always appreciate about the sounds on the interior of the Mini, they're always, in my words, a little bit playful. Like they're not so serious, they make you smile, and they're quite different from other cars. So would you agree with my playful description? How would you describe like the tone and character?
That's something that I absolutely agree with. There are actually other elements that we took into consideration when we were delivering, composing the sound, but also as the colleagues from the design department were creating the design of the car, because some of the main core elements of Mini are aspects like passion, but also one important aspect is the fact of being energetic. And this idea of energetic was very important also for the first Mini Electric, because if we think on how the energy is delivered as compared from a combustion engine, it's a completely different approach. So we have an electric engine which is providing the energy right away, right there. And so the sound has also to be capable to deliver this sense of energy when we start. So how can we create a sound that is at the same time friendly, it's playful, but is also reassuring? This is also an aspect that I was really devoting lots of energy on, the fact that this sound will be part of our soundscape, of our cityscape around. And so the sound is interacting with the pedestrian around. And I want it to be respectful on a first instance, but also I want it to be kind of embracing and in a mini way, friendly. And what I can show you now, this is our beautiful Mini Electric, and on background, for those of you who are watching and have never been in Munich, you can see the legendary Four Cylinders building right behind. And so I think this is, we couldn't have any better place for our Mini.
That's perfect. Perfect framing of that picture.
So, Patrick, do you want me to talk about the sounds? Should we dive in already? Do you have any further question before I enter
I
the
think
topic?
I definitely want to get to you showing or playing the sounds, but what I'm curious about, when you're in the car, tell us how, like on a day-to-day basis, how often are you using your piano skills to kind of create these? So as you're showing the and playing the sounds inside the car, maybe also talk about how you formulated it, how you
Mhm.
conceived of it. Maybe I think that's what would be really interesting.
Absolutely. So in terms of the skill, you were mentioning the skills, I use them every time that I'm composing sounds, and I took this as also kind of must in my process, because I really believe in the human element, in the presence of us also as a performer. And I also try to avoid composing only on algorithmic and on a computer without interacting with the sound, without having actually the opportunity of forming the sounds with my fingers. And in fact, for Mini, where the concept of craftsmanship is very important, I literally performed every single sound element that is in the sounds. And I will tell you also how, when I will be talking about the start-stop sound, for instance, but also on the exterior sound. So for those who are wondering, there is always the question, which instruments do you use for composing the sounds? Well, actually, there is no limits. Every instrument is allowed. On the table, I have synthesizers, I have digital analog. I have a bunch of so-called plugins that are capable to emulate other sound instruments. But I have also algorithmic-based tools that allow to create a sound from scratch, like from zero. And once you create it, there is a way to play with it, like this playfulness that you were talking about. I take it also quite literally when it's about to generate a sound. And I think there was you mentioned the playfulness, so this is part of the process. And you asked also, how did I turn an idea into a sound? How did I start, right? Was this also
Yeah.
your question?
Yeah.
So for Mini, it was a pretty interesting process because I usually begin with art and people. These are my two first sorts of inspiration. Of course, what happens in the process is that I spend lots of time with guys from the design department, with Oliver Alma, with Christian Bauer, Christopher Weil, and all the other guys from the interior exterior design team. We talked about their approach, what was their idea behind all the objects, the curves that they designed. And then I talked a lot also with the marketing department because it was about understanding what is really the history of Mini that we are still living today, how it feels Mini today for us, what is the perception that also our friends of the Mini Club have. And so all these questions and these answers, they come together, and at some point I start to compose. Now, for this specific Mini, I want to show you two things that really were part of the design. One was the rim. Now, look at the rim. It's I honestly really fell in love with this design because it's very unusual the way they displays it. It has a vintage flair. To me, now I'm not using the language of our design colleague. I'm using my my personal perception of it. And so my idea was, so look at the circle, right? And look at this four object. We have 1, 2, and 3. So my idea was on the sketch. I wish I would have taken my sketchboard with me. I took basically this one element and I create a kind of mosaic with between 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I built like a small room, as if it was a room seen from above. And then I interpreted the circle together with another element that I'm going to show you from the cockpit. Give me a second. Thank you for the keys. I just want to show you something. So if you look here inside, you see this yellow half circle, right? So the idea is that I multiply the circle many times, and I had the idea of creating a metaphor between light and sound. So basically this had for me the meaning of a sound source that was interacting with this square and rectangular. So that was my idea, and I transformed this into through an analogy. It's kind of difficult now to explain this, I'm sorry. But I turned all this into sound, basically, to make the long story short.
So maybe take us through a demonstration within the vehicle of some of the sounds. And also, one of the things that I found really interesting, I did training on this car in San Diego, California, and one of the exercises was driving through a silent garage, parking garage, to hear the sounds that the vehicle makes to alert pedestrians. So maybe just give us a demonstration of some of the sounds.
Sure. Then maybe we can start with that very sound. I will ask our friend Lutz to start the car. So I'll be outside and we see our friend Lutz just jumped in. He will start the car right now. So I don't know how good is the microphone system, but I will be silent for a second and try to listen to a very subtle humming sound that is coming. Tell me if you can listen to that. So wait a second, let me turn. This is me just staying here. Now there is a car driving by. Can you hear a very subtle humming?
Yes. Yeah.
So this sound, and I really encourage you whenever you have the chance to go to a Mini dealer just for experiencing this, because it's something that you have to feel also with your presence, with your body. If you are close to the car, then you have the feeling that the car is slowly humming to you, but in a very positive and enlightening way. So the the fundamental frequencies that have been used for this sound are trying to communicate a sense of embracing and a sense of safety, but also this sense of playfulness. It's like a Mini is like blinking at you and saying, I'm here, everything is great.
Because people might not realize if the car is really completely silent, it's quite dangerous when you have pedestrians who are distracted or just not paying attention. And this parking garage exercise we did was really perfect because you could hear the humming sound emanating from the front, but also like you could really hear it in the parking garage because it was kind of reverberating off of the ceiling, and it really, that was where I truly appreciated the, let's say, the functionality of it.
Let me just try this. Kannst du Rückgang kurz mal einstellen? I want to try this for a second. Okay. Yeah, so this is the sound. It's a bit louder now, maybe. And I'm gonna ask, Lutz, kannst du kurz fahren? Bis so 15 km/h. Sorry, I was just asking our colleague to drive a little bit, like 10 to 15 kilometers per hour. Let's see if you can hear this. Stop. I don't know if it's too soft, guys.
Yeah, we can definitely hear the humming, but I agree. I encourage people to check it out themselves.
Yeah, just to appreciate the quality of sound.
Absolutely. So we have a question from one of our audience. So Serge Leon is asking, can you talk about how long it took to develop these sounds?
That's a good question. It took something between 6 to 9 months, because you have to think that the process is not about discovering or finding a new sound language, but at some point we have to, from the concept to, we have this jump from the concept to the car, and then we have a lot of iterations that we go through to make sure that also the driving feeling it's fitting. Because the important thing is that I like to say that I don't see the driver as
Renzo, are you back? All right, you're back.
Can you see me? I'm so sorry, everyone. No, I don't know what's going on because the network actually is excellent here. Yeah. So I stopped Instagram and restarted. Glad to be back. Perfect. Sorry. Let's continue from where we left.
All right. So a question of the second part of Serge's question, which was, do you have multiple sounds that, like, I know on the design side we have like a competition, right? For the, which design moves forward. How many are you bringing to your colleagues? Are you bringing 3 sounds, 5 sounds to, and then agreeing on which one is the winner? How does that work?
Yeah, it's actually it's that way. I composed for Mini a total of 3 sounds. Actually, that was the case, and we had, and I can tell you at the end it was a tough choice because apparently they loved all of them, which is the best scenario you can think of, because it means that somehow we were capable to transmit this Mini character through the sounds. But there was this one sound, it won also because of its capacity of giving some sort of go-kart feeling as you are starting. Because this was also a very difficult question to answer. What is the go-kart feeling that it's very known for Mini in the electric domain? So we did different tests, and this sound proved to be also pretty solid whenever you were starting, going to, from 0 to say 20 miles per hour. Then the sound was capable to give this reactive feeling that it's typical of the go-kart feeling. And so everyone was very happy with that, and at the end
Perfect.
We
And
we have to admit.
do you see major differences in, let's say, the preferences of Europeans versus Asia versus US in terms of
Mhm.
in terms of
I would say that I according to my experience, I saw more differences between different people than different countries and cultures, and it's something that would rather say it has, first of all, with subjectivity to do, and then with cultural belonging. We know that there are differences in the way Americans and Europeans and Asians look at sound, perceive sound, and we are very well informed about that. We also do lots of studies to see what's the reaction, what is the expectations. But at the end of the day, the most important thing for us is that we are delivering something that is not only honest, but it belongs to our history. Because at the end, they want to drive Mini for what it represents, for what it can give. So it is important that this sounds, it's a Mini sound, not a Renzo sound, not a Patrick sound, not an Asian sound, not an American sound or European. It's a Mini sound.
perfect.
This is everything that we want
So
to achieve.
my last question, and it might be a little bit provocative. What is the, let's say, sonic experience when you're in a rental car? Like when you're not in a Mini, when you're not in a Mini, what is your, like, what's your assessment of the sound? And does that make you really appreciate the sounds that are in a Mini?
I have to say that since I'm very curious, I always, whenever I enter a new car, I'm never in a judging approach. I'm never there either for criticizing or for finding something that doesn't work. I'm rather there hoping that I will be surprised, hoping that someone came out with either an idea better than my ideas or something that I totally was not thinking of, but actually works. And so I had multiple experiences in the rental cars. Um, I don't want to be pretentious, but I have to say that I'm happy about my work, uh, what we have done so far. But I also appreciate very much whenever I realize that there are some company that really put lots of effort in working with sound, because it's something that helps us all. In a first instance, for us and for me personally, it's important that we come to appreciate sound for what it does to us as an entity. Sound, it improves our life by all means. So whenever I have the feeling that another company is dedicating effort in sound, then I'm the happiest person. Yeah.
That's a perfect way to kind of conclude. And on behalf of all Mini USA owners, I just want to thank you for the work that you do. I think we love the sounds that Mini has now, but also going back 18 years to our beginning. And thank you for taking us on like a field trip for the first time through the BMW Welt facility and to get to experience the car firsthand. So
Patrick,
any final words?
yes, actually, there is a very funny thing that I would love to share with the Mini friends and
Perfect.
community. It's a small secret that I have put in this car. So whenever you start a Mini electric, you see there is a button here. Actually, it's not a button, so you're not pushing, you are just pressing down. You see?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you do. And then, so what happens when I press the start button? Listen carefully. I don't know if you could hear a sound.
Perfect.
I can do it again. Now listen very carefully at this kind of sound that we are listening. So this sound, it's made up of many elements. And there is one tiny element which goes da-da, 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 da-da.
Right.
So it's a very small melody, but actually this melody, it's a translation in Morse code of the word Mini. So
Ah,
basically, every time that you begin the car, the Mini is telling its or her name to you. And I want to also congratulate with one Mini customer from US. His name is Richard, who had sent to me the recording of his own Mini Electric, and he was trying to guessing what was going on in the sound. And I have to say that Richard, at the end, he was able to crack the code and to recognize that the Mini was saying Mini. So my congratulations to him, and this shows how wonderful is the Mini community, so passionate about their vehicles. And I just want to share my gratitude with all of you, sending lots of love to Munich, from Munich to US.
Perfect. And thank you for spending time with us. Thank you for your great work. And I love that story about that there's actually Morse code really saying the name Mini in the background. That's amazing. So thank you all for being with us. This is our third and final installment of Mini Q&A. So thank you so much. Thank you, Renzo, for joining.
You're welcome.
And signing off from USA and from Munich, Germany. Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome. Goodbye.
Bye.